We'll sort of kick us off with that frame. Okay? What does it take to deliver the IPL to now? I think it's like, what is it, around 2 crore, 3 crore people?
Yeah, I think our last the last World Cup was what, like 63 million people concurrent. So getting there.
Yeah, but
IPL
like,
was 55.
yeah, and I think there was like a 180 million people who watch cricket in one go.
That's right. That's
So
right.
I just want to set the frame for folks here. Like, as the CTO or the engineering lead of this team, broadly, what are the top 3 things on your mind to make that land? And then we want to use that same lens to how you evaluate blockchain.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. It's kind of cruel to get up so early in the morning and talk tech. So thank you. Look, I think Aditya and I have been talking off and on, and I always tell Aditya I learn a lot from him. I'm very much a noob when it comes to blockchain. So, but the problems are still the same, right? What does it take to stream India level cricket or India level anything really? Think of the big sales that happen on Flipkart and whatnot, right? Similar problems. Any flash load, the big lesson over there is to not deal with it. And not dealing with it requires offloading a lot of these decision makings. If you think of everything that you have to do, even if you think of Solana blockchain, effectively saying that a bunch of things need to happen. You are coming to transact, you're coming to watch, and you need to say, are you entitled? Have you bought a subscription? Are you going to watch for free? Am I going to give you a free entitlement? Watch for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it is. Evaluating that, protecting your IP. We spend a lot of money acquiring the rights for these sports events, and then letting you pass through. That's just the first phase. If you get past that, and that alone is a tsunami and will kill you. Then you get to the video parts of it, right? And even as you're streaming video, it's the same exact problem, because as you're sending down video chunks, it's actually a line to each and every one who's watching concurrently. And we are constantly trying to figure out what is what is an effective way to offload that. What makes it even more complex is the fact that we have to monetize video as well. So it's not sufficient just to sell you subscriptions, but also at that scale, ads become incredibly complex. And it requires that targeting and being able to say that Akash is different from Aditya, and they may have different needs. So the problems are very similar. Solutions, in distributed computing are also quite similar.
Yeah, awesome. I just, we had this at the opening so that it sets the frame for everyone here as to when you expect blockchains to go mainstream, what are the kind of things that leaders of these orgs are evaluating, right? So if you heard everything right now, it's like, how do you manage entitlement, free sampling, how do you do monetization, how do you keep the stream running across the country? And so we'll sort of come back to this when it's like, what's the way you evaluate blockchains? But first, why do you agree to do this? Like, what excites you about blockchains now? We spoke about agentic payments, we spoke about tokenization of time. Broadly speaking, what are you looking at in the space as an outsider?
I hate to be a cliche in the morning, right? We go everywhere, everyone's talking about AI, it's undeniable. But as a consumer-facing service, we'd like to be able to capture value for our customers, right? And allow them to, basically extract value off deck as well, right? On deck being on our product. And how do we do that? Now, whenever I say to architect any of that, I begin to have, I've always asked this question. I was speaking just before we got here. Why can't I use blockchain? It's great, right? I mean, as an architect, it is exciting to me. It's immutable, right? Which means I don't need to care about modifications and stuff like that. Great, right? Distributed validation, everything that I really love. Smart contracts are very exciting. Imagine effectively being able to offload it and package behavior with Meta. That is the dream, right? That allows me to offload a bunch of stuff and not bring it back to the origin, as it were. So that has always been one of the conversations I've had with my team, and it's never gone anywhere. It's just been a struggle because the team says, well, this is over engineering, and why do we need to do it? You'll still have to create some sort of a lookup index DB sort of thing to deal with it. But lately, with everything starting to become agentic, and I know it's thrown around very loosely, but it's a good problem to solve, to say that when machines are dealing with each other, and maybe we look at a 2-year window and say that you would want to summon up and say, yes, I want to watch the latest show on Hotstar, for example. And your browser, a Comet or something or equivalent, is effectively mediating on your behalf, right? You're not a subscriber. You're seeking to purchase entitlement, or someone may sponsor it, what have you. How does all of that work in this sort of thing, right? And I think for better or for worse, you say it's word association. You say blockchain, I think currency or crypto, and so on, right? So that sort of a space has become interesting to think about. And the more I read, I talk to you, Aditya, or I read about Solana, it seems like an interesting ecosystem to tap into.
Yeah, for sure. So if you had to break down like agentic payments into a few niches, right? I think the first is what you mentioned is it's replacing the search intent and buy behavior, right? So the buy behavior today is you search for something on Amazon or on Google, you see a bunch of links, and I don't know if everyone here appreciates the engineering that goes in behind showing you that link, the bidding that happens there, the auction system that runs. If you thought voting and governance in crypto was complicated, once you leave this conference, go and Google up, Google's second auction. There's this famous saying that the best PhDs are getting you to click on links instead of, building rockets, but now they're doing both, I think, thanks to Elon. And so there's this, like Google makes, I think, $100 billion a quarter in revenue, right? Just off of their main search business and a bunch of this. How do you see some of that changing when people are now buying from an intent of like, when they're sort of conversing with an agent and the agent is then taking them into a buy behavior? Thanks to Cloudflare, you can now pay per parse, or they have their, agentic dollar as well. So how do you see the search behavior shifting and the commerce changing through that?
Yeah, I mean, I can see my own personal behavior changing, right? Where I'm getting to points where I'm conversing with an AI. I'm just going to use that as a metaphor to stand in place for any kind of machine-human interaction. And as you're conversing with it, eventually you are coming to purchase decisions. Recently I was planning a family trip and using ChatGPT to figure out what I want to do, where I want to go, which hotel I want to stay, basis whatever I wanted. And at the end of it gave me a bunch of choices, and I said, I don't want to deal with going to the website and then doing it. I still had to do it, and I know that'll go away pretty soon. But one radical way to think about it is, we keep kicking it around the office and say that, is there room for UIs anymore? Will there be apps in the future, given you're going back to prompt-based, conversational, user experiences? Increasingly, I'm a lot older than you guys, but one of the things that I start to look at is like, am I able to start using audio interfaces more, more dominantly? And I think inevitably it's going to end up to the point where you may consume on a screen, but how you got there may not be a bunch of clicks. And we're getting very close to that, I feel.
Awesome. And then there is this whole, proof of work done as a payment model, right? So it's like all of SaaS as of today, if anyone here has used Slack or Jira or Teams, you're paying per seat, right? Your organization is paying per seat. And there is this talk of now moving towards like, if you're hiring an agent, you pay them for output, you pay them for input. Where do you see that going?
It's ironic you bring up SaaS, right? In some sense, you went from enterprise software that said, give me gazillions of dollars, to effectively saying, move to usage-based pricing, for example, right? So in a world where, you're able to sort of, you want to pay for fractional work done, which potentially democratizes access to certain things and capabilities. That sort of microtransaction economy is very compelling to think about. And again, it makes me think that why can't I use this technology? Aditya and I were just talking about, you talk about crypto so much, and a bunch of you may be in fintechs or you're building fintech applications, and I was telling him perhaps fintech is not going to adopt this because of the heavy regulation that there is. Maybe the killer app is going to come from some sort of a consumer-facing, I want to call it a middleware, and I'm using it very, very loosely here. But are we able to create, and again, this is effectively saying, think of a Brave, for example. I think Brave sort of tapped into this sort of behavior very early to say that what does consumer gratification look like in a consumption world? So your gratification is tied to your consumption. I thought that was a very powerful idea. I still think it's a very powerful idea. And I think in terms of, if you, we had this big debate in one of my, college groups, and, everyone's, at senior positions in Meta and Google and so on. And we got into this big debate about, should you be monetized for being a subject for LLM learning? And it had to do something with opting out on WhatsApp or some nonsense like that, right? It started pretty innocently, I would say. But it raised a very good point, saying that if I am training LLMs and I
should get paid for
any of you, why am I not monetized for it?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so we'll sort of close this out with a prompt for everyone here who's working on crypto AI, right? We know why traditional payments don't lend themselves well to agents, right? Because an agent cannot enter an OTP, the agent cannot enter a CVV, the agent cannot have a bank account. These things are all human first. And in theory, your sort of stable coins or your digital dollars or digital currencies should be able to work for agents, but they don't as of today. They're still going to get there. So what do you think it takes to get to a point where your agents can just make payments in these digital currencies? Or for you, either personally, what do you find exciting that people could consider building in the space? The audience is all developers, so it's just a prompt for anyone who's already thinking about building in the space.
Look, I mean, a great unsolved problem for me is effectively, or on the internet, why just for me, if you're able to establish trust on both ends, and I'm talking mother's milk and pretty much impossible things here, then what technology enables that? And I feel that if implicitly, let's say the blockchain technology starts with trust, saying, hey, this is immutable trust, nobody can tinker with it, here are proofs, and I know there's fear of quantum breaking and whatnot, but let's just park that for a second, right? If the underlying technology has that as a foundational bedrock, then why would more applications not emerge for it? It's a conundrum to me, to be honest, right? It would seem natural to build something on top of that. And, also fundamentally where you're able to exchange value in a heterogeneous token architecture in that sense, or in a world. I have a rupee, you have a dollar, and we are able to exchange that. You can do that in the real world, but why are we not able to unlock that at the application layer? I think I spoke about loyalty as a use case, as to why we would not, that's an area that we do discuss about, saying, why should our loyalty dollars not be, or I'm using dollars again as a currency, but whatever the thing is, not be expressed on a blockchain that makes it more portable, potentially for other people trying to transact with it.
Awesome. So I think, it's sort of interesting because the biggest takeaway from this is that you build something for agentic payments, it needs to be something that you can trust, that it will hold the value that it promises, and that the payment, you're basically saying that the biggest thing in a payment system is trust. The reason why Amex or MasterCard or Visa, any of these giants, can charge the fees that they do is because they offer a certain level of trust to merchants about chargebacks, and to you as a customer about fraud, and you need to recreate that trust in a digital native way on the blockchain.
It's not even that. I'm not saying that you need to be a brand. I'm literally saying, to be clear, what I'm saying is that if two parties can establish trust neutrally, that's good enough, right? If I know that you're Aditya, you're an agent acting on behalf of Aditya, and you're transacting something from me, you're taking something from Hotstar, let's say. Okay. And I can say, yes, it is Aditya. Aditya has authorized this agent to transact on behalf of him, and I'm able to just transfer that value. Like literally you speaking into your phone and saying, I want to watch the latest movie on Hotstar, and then the movie pops up. You can just buy just the movie. Imagine that. So to me, that's
got it.
where I'd like to go.
Oh, you basically had more trust on the civil side that you know that.
Yeah,
is
I
the
mean
person.
decentralization, right? So it's a technology. So why would you not be able to use that?